When we talked about the theory of the consumer back in chapter 3, we talked about how people have preferences. People are able to rank the different choices available to them. These ranked choices are then aggregated into market demand because people will be willing to pay more to get things ranked higher in their preferences. In other words, markets are able to transform our ranked preferences into a social preference, which helps direct resources to the places they're most valued. Is there a similar way in which we can aggregate everyone's individual preferences about public policy into a preference for society as a whole? This is what we call the social welfare function, and it's the method a society uses to rank social states. We all have different preferences about what taxes should be and what sort of programs the government should run, as well as preferences about what laws and restrictions there should be. A social welfare function takes in the ranked preferences of all the citizens and spits out an aggregate ranking for society. Democracies have a pretty simple social welfare function. We vote. When everyone votes and we tally those votes up, we aggregate everyone's individual preference into a social preference, where the rule is that the candidate or policy which gets the most votes is the one most preferred by society. Dictatorships have a social welfare function which is just identical to the preferences of the dictator. Whatever the dictator thinks is best is declared to be what society thinks is best. As you might be thinking, these systems don't always work. Sometimes the outcome of the social welfare function lands on something plainly not what society's preference is. So, can we think of some rules we would want our social welfare function to abide by? Or, I'll say it simply, what rules should our voting system follow so that it properly aggregates all of our individual preferences? There are 5 simple rules that a voting system should follow that most people seem to agree on. First is non-dictatorship. The system cannot simply mimic the preferences of a single voter. If they do, that voter is a dictator. But likewise, the system should not always mimic the preferences of some block of voters either. If they did, it wouldn't matter if everyone else voted or not, because the outcome is determined by some subset of voters. We want our voting system to genuinely count everyone's voice. Second is universality. The system must be able to rank all possible choices. Suppose we had a voting system which required the winning option to get more than 50% of the vote, a true majority. If there were 3 options and one got 40% of the vote, while the other got 35% and the third got 25%, that voting system would say that society has no preference. There is no winner. A majority rule system is not always able to rank more than 2 choices, and so it would violate this rule. So you can think of this rule as being one which requires our system to always reach a decision. The third is independence of irrelevant alternatives. It says that when a new option is introduced, it either wins or the outcome is not changed. This has a complicated name, but it is straightforward. Suppose we have the choice between chocolate and vanilla ice cream, and collectively we decide to get vanilla. Then the clerk says they also have strawberry, and so we vote again, and suddenly chocolate wins. That would violate the independence of irrelevant alternatives. Society picked vanilla over chocolate, but when strawberry becomes an option, chocolate beats vanilla. Strawberry is the irrelevant alternative. It doesn't win in either case, but the outcome is not independent of whether or not it is a choice. The fourth rule is very similar. Citizen sovereignty says that if a citizen changes their preference, either their new preference wins or the outcome is not changed. Let's say vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry are always options, and when we vote, vanilla wins. But then one person in the group says, I thought I liked vanilla more than strawberry, but really I like strawberry more than vanilla. And so we re-vote, and chocolate now wins. That one person's preference about chocolate didn't change. but the outcome somehow switched to chocolate. When someone switches and ranks strawberry over vanilla, either strawberry should now win or the outcome should not change. Last is unanimity, which says that if everyone prefers A to B, then the system prefers A to B. This one is a slam dunk. If everyone thinks A is better than B, we definitely don't want our voting system to somehow pick B instead of A. When we were looking at Condorcet winners, we saw the flaw in our voting system. Most elections in the US are pluralistic, meaning that whoever gets the most votes wins. Here, the candidate from the red party wins more votes than the candidate from the orange party, so they are the winner. But if we add a third candidate, suddenly the candidate from the orange party wins. We added yellow, and society's preference changed from red to orange. This violates the independence of irrelevant alternatives. The yellow party candidate doesn't win in any version of this election, but their inclusion does change the outcome. Many believe this happened in the 2000 election, where third-party candidate Ralph Nader is thought to have flipped the outcome of the presidential election in Florida from Al Gore to George W. Bush, and with Florida went the presidency. These 5 rules are a good baseline for any voting system, which begs the question, is there a voting system which satisfies all 5 of these rules? In the next video, we'll find out.